Hey everyone, welcome to the quote-unquote last build of quote-unquote heist. And what I mean by that statement is that this week the events to hold us until next league begin. Thank you Cyberpunk, very cool. Anyhow, I'll talk a bit more about how I plan to tackle the upcoming events later on in the video, so be sure to watch until the end for that. Anyways, to wrap up a quote-unquote normal league schedule, we are gonna conclude with an Impale Siphon Champion. And this one is built with some of the stuff I've been doing recently. Impale, rage stuff, a weird looking Skilltree, elemental element avoidance, you know, fun and obscure stuff. However, since I'm actually a bit busy in real life right now, we are gonna keep this one short. So for the gameplay, I've only got some mapping, the Conquerors and Sirus, but the character should be good enough to tackle other stuff if you so choose to. Anyways, if you guys enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, otherwise a rating and a comment are always appreciated. And with all of that said, let's build a character using a little branch with a ton of destructive power. Alright, so we are gonna speed through a lot of these things, so pardon my reckless driving. Anyways, for the Ascendancy, it is a champion with permanent Fortify, Impale bonuses and Adrenaline. In order to trigger Adrenaline on the go, we are gonna use Arcane Cloak with Blood Magic and an Empower to trigger it, mostly for single target purposes. The character himself is level 96, but the last 2 points we allocate are Wand Crit and Elder Power, so 94 should be more than enough, really. We side with Alera for the resistances and crit multi, and for Pantheons, Solaris and Shakari are always the best choices. For the rest of the skill tree, it is a bit cursed, but it makes sense, you'll see. We are gonna start off on the strength side of the duelist, taking life and art of the gladiator. From there, we are gonna rush towards the one stuff on the top side of the skill tree, grabbing life, impale, rage and attack speed, eternal youth and a jewel socket. We are gonna socket a lethal pride with warriors under Akoya to turn eternal youth into chain breakers to generate rage passively. This is for single target purposes, especially triggering berserk. From there on out, we pretty much move towards the wand wheel, grabbing crit chance and crit multi, a jewel socket, more crit multi, and finally the wand stuff from the right side. Once we've got that, we go downwards, grabbing life, instant war cries, impale, fortify, iron grip, more life, another jewel socket, iron reflexes, point blank, life, and ailment avoidance, and we wrap it up with a cluster jewel setup. This setup has a large cluster jewel with 8 passives at most. And it also comes with Dread Destruction for Life Leech, Smite Weak for damage against maimed enemies, and Feel the Fight, which did not get allocated to keep this cheap. However, if you are unable to get Mana Leech on your gear or jewels, then you allocate this guy. Anyways, the two medium clusters are identical. Remember, 5 passives at most, or else we overspend points and we need to overlevel. These jewels have repeater and eye to eye, for projectile damage bonuses and DPS gains when in close proximity to enemies. As for the rest of the jewels, a Watcher's Eye with attack speed with precision and intimidate with pride, though you can go with other DPS stuff from both precision and pride, up to you. The rare jewels have increased maximum life and damage, crit multi, projectile damage, attack speed, crit chance, etc. It's up to you and your budget. Though in my case I did use one with some dexterity because I required it. But yeah, that's it for the skill tree. A bit cursed considering the route we take, but it all makes sense in the end, so with all of that said, let's talk about the gear. And we are gonna begin this section with the most important piece of equipment, the Angry DPS branch, aka the wand. We want a wand with at least 320 physical DPS or more. Mine has roughly 350 physical DPS, and despite the fact that it looks a bit expensive, I actually spent like 4.5 exiles on this. Someone had listed the wand without the multimod for 50c, and using the bench I cleared the suffixes and multimodded the attack speed, crit and quality. But yeah, the wand is the entire backbone of the character, so getting a good one is kinda mandatory. Moving on to the shield, it's a Redeemer influenced tower shield with life, resistances, minimum frenzy charges and if possible global fist damage or attack damage. For the helmet, it's the trusty Crown of the Inward Eye with power Siphon fires 2 additional projectiles as the enchantment. If you cannot find one, a rare helmet with a lot of life, resistances and the enchantment is good as well. The body armor is an Awakener slammed body, with attacks have extra crit chance and the exploding modifier. This was used by my custom crit assassin from a week ago. Anyways, we also want life and resistances. If you cannot afford to Awakener slam it, the pure exploding mod with life and resists is good enough. The gloves are gripped gloves with life, resistances, and we benchcraft elemental ailment avoidance. The boots have movement speed, elemental ailment avoidance, and I multi-modded life and resistances. Now, my amulet is kinda whack with all honesty, barely any crit multi, pride mana reservation, and I multi-modded life and mana cost. This amulet should be better, but I went with the first successful gamble of fossils and annuls. So in your case, if you could get a resistance or more life or crit multi, that will be best. Otherwise, we need to anoint kinetic impacts because apparently Path of Building claims that's the best DPS modifier. Apparently. But yeah. Moving on to the first ring, it has a vulnerability on hit as the implicit, and it was crafted a couple videos ago using essences of Scorn for the crit multi. Optimally, we also want life, accuracy and a resist. If you can get fist damage to attacks, that will be amazing, but otherwise the previous stuff should suffice. The other ring has elemental ailment avoidance as the implicit, and I recommend using essences of spite until you hit life, accuracy and a resist, alongside the guaranteed intelligence. If you can craft anything else, that is good as well. The belt is a Stygian bias with life, resistances and we benchcraft damage. The jewel on the belt has life, accuracy, dexterity and intelligence. Finally, for flasks, a Dying Sun, a Diamond Flask and a Sulfur Flask. And now come the gem setups. We are gonna use Power Siphon twice, one setup to clear maps and another one for single target. The single target setup goes in the body armor and it's a level 21 and 20 quality Power Siphon, Brutality, Barrage, Awakened Vicious Projectiles, Maim and Impale. The clear setup goes in the gloves and it's Power Siphon, Brutality, Pierce and Impale. In the wand, Enduring Cry and Flame Dash, linked to Second Wind. In the boots, Flesh and Stone, Pride and Herald of Purity, all of them linked to Enlighten level 3, optimally level 4. In the helmet, a level 1 Precision for the Watcher's Eye shenanigans, Blood Rage, Berserk and a Portal Gem if you want it. Otherwise, a Decoy Totem is useful as well. And in the shield, a level 21 Arcane Cloak linked to Empower and Blood Magic. And with all of that said, let us wrap up this rather unique character. The wand playstyle with a non-shadow, Templar or Witch is always a nice challenge, mainly because you want to cram as much intelligence into the character to be able to equip the wands. However, with the state Impale sits at, it makes more sense to build around it rather than focus on elemental conversion or flat added elemental damage, which is why this time around I built a champion. And I said this time because back in Delirium I did a raider doing something similar. But with all honesty, I think that build was far stronger than this one. This one is okay, like nothing too fancy, it maps fast and it fights bosses just fine. At the same time it's rather spongy thanks to the elemental ailment avoidance and also thanks to the permanent fortify. So even though it wasn't the Sirus Melter, it still did good and that's fine for me. Though due to time constraints, this video only has the Conquerors and Sirus as the endgame bosses. However, character conclusion aside, the Mayhem event starts this Friday, and both Mayhem and Endless Delve are voided, which means nothing carries to the parent league nor to standard, so making a boss nuking character is not really necessary. The goal in mind is reaching the character level milestones, to enter the raffles for cool MTX gear. So with that idea in mind, I'm thinking about a Caustic Arrow Trickster for the Mayhem event. Yes, I know I am super original, but it's gonna make sense. We'll be talking about that later on this week with a character build guide in order to achieve the MTX raffle goal. I'll also be posting a quote-unquote update to the progress that the character makes before the week is up, so that I can talk about the next event's character which is still in the air. Thank you Cyberpunk, you did quite the number on PoE. But yeah, keep an eye out for the Mayhem character. And with all of that said, I'm out. Thank you so much for watching today's content, and if you're new around here, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Have a nice start to your week, and I'll be back soon with more Path of Exile stuff. Take care and peace out.
I am not so foolish.
This world is doomed!
Be silent. Die. Die.
This city is nothing! You are nothing! Fury of the Cosmos!
Is life really interesting enough to warrant all this pain? Die.
This world is doomed! duty crumble. You are nothing. Rain of stars!
On the edge of death, my heart races. I am alive. You will long for
Non-existence. This world is doomed. Everlasting fire. Die. Be silent.
I can't do this just yet.
You will long for
Non-existence. I have seen beyond. Everlasting fire.